Hey everyone, it's Emily Vogel with WrapWomen, and today I'm here with Isabel May, who stars as Elsa Dunn in Paramount's Yellowstone prequel series 1883. Welcome, Isabel.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
We are so excited to have you. I'm such a fan of the show, and I cannot wait to talk about it. Let's jump right in. Okay, so first things first, I have to know, prior to auditioning for 1883, were you a fan of Yellowstone? Or had you seen the series?
I had not. I know it's a travesty, and I can't believe I hadn't. But I every once in a while would hear people in conversation talk about it, and I was kind of curious. I thought, to be quite frank, I thought they were talking about the park. So I was very confused for a while there. I went, oh, there's a show called Yellowstone. Excuse me.
About national parks?
I was very confused, and then I went out for something for Taylor Sheridan, and then 1883 happened, and I was on board, months in advance of him actually kind of writing the actual show, which was a surreal experience in and of itself. And so then I decided, well, you kind of have to know what this story is about and why this show is being made in the first place. So I checked it out and I was blown away, and I was kind of disappointed that I hadn't found it sooner.
Now, what was it about your character Elsa that drove you to take on this project? Because I mean, she's such a badass, and I think like two of my favorite. And I think they were like in the same episode where she's like, "I'm a cowboy," and then she's like, "What? You've never seen a girl in pants before?" Like, she's
Oh
so
yeah.
cool. What was it about it for you that drove you to take on this character?
Well, I had a strange experience. My involvement with this show. I didn't audition for it. I auditioned for a different project, and Taylor got back to me about 2 weeks after I tested for it of the other project and said, I haven't written this story yet, but you are Elsa Dutton, and I need you to be Elsa Dutton. um, will you do that? And I went, well, yeah, you're Taylor Sheridan. Of course I'm willing to do that. It would be a dream to work with you. Um, so he actually wrote Elsa with me in mind, which is a very odd thing for me to say, especially considering the fact that if you look at my resume, it's not an extensive one. It's a rather short one. But I don't know what it was about our meeting and and what sparked in his brain, but something triggered in his brain, and Elsa kind of was spawned out of that interaction between the two of us. So
Wow.
it wasn't that I wasn't necessarily drawn to the role because the role didn't exist before I met
Wow. And is there anything you've like, I know you guys created it together, but is there anything like you've learned from that experience or learned from playing or your character, her person, like anything you've learned from Elsa or any advice that you would give her, like now that you kind of played her?
him. Yeah, I think something that I really love about her is the fact that she owns who she is and what she does. Um, so much so, and refuses to be apologetic about it. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I've had you should know when to apologize for doing bad things or being, not the best person. We all have our moments. But there's something so inspiring about a young woman just kind of owning herself, really, flaws and all. And I kind of want to adopt that quality, and I hope that I have a little bit of that, which is a refusal to back down, a kind of a fierceness. Um, that's really, especially in the environment that character was in, and how unwanted that was at that time. Which now it's popular. We admire women that do that to a degree today. Despite we do still have some stereotypes that are unfair, but in 1883 that was pretty uncommon. So I'd love to see that. Yeah, powerful.
Right. It's almost like when I was watching it, I feel like it almost seems like somewhat of like a coming of age story. You're really watching that development. Was there a hardest scene? Do you remember? I mean, there's a lot of very intense moments. Was there a hardest part about playing Elsa, or was there like one scene where you're like, that really like took a toll?
Well, the funny thing is the real intensity and Elsa's story kind of comes on after episode 5, which aired last week, I think.
Yeah.
So that last scene in 105, after Ennis passes away, was. I mean, the thing is, we didn't shoot in order. We shot the first 4 episodes and then jumped to the last 2, and then cross-boarded 5 to 8, and then delved back into a little bit of 9 and 10. So it's been all over the place. Which was a little disorienting. So I shot that last scene of 105 4 weeks ago, not that long ago. That's what's so bizarre and odd about it. But I obviously can't like give any specifics, but some of the things that she goes, I won't say some, I'll say all of the things that she goes through after the end of 105 is really, it's a lot. It was really satisfying to do because maybe I'm a masochist or something, but I live a really comfortable, easy life with loving parents, and I'm a relatively happy person. So there's something satisfying about being able to like grieve. And I don't mean to say that in the wrong way. It's just being able to feel these extreme emotions that I really hope I never have to truly experience myself. I love it. I just love it.
So you let it all out.
Yeah, pretty much.
I want to talk about the relationship between Elsa and her mother, Margaret, played by Faith Hill, because there is, I feel like, such a development there. And again, between the first episode and I want to say it was the last episode, at the first episode, Elsa gets in trouble for not saying yes, ma'am. And, she's like, well, I'm a woman and I don't need to say yes, ma'am. And her mom kind of goes, oh, so you're a woman now. And then after, she loses her virginity, her mother, Margaret, kind of goes, well, we are way beyond yes, ma'am. And we see kind of that transition. And we have, Margaret giving Elsa advice and on becoming a woman. And there's really a really fascinating and interesting mother-daughter relationship there. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. That relationship is one of my favorite parts of the whole story. One of my favorite voiceover narrations, is when she's watching her mom in 103, and kind of says, I'd always thought of my mother like a nervous chicken, and then by the end of that long monologue, she goes, I saw a woman and the woman was beautiful, and that's just. I feel like so many young women can relate to that, because we all have these. I feel like any young woman or woman in general just has that dynamic between mother and daughter is it's complicated, it's beautiful, it's challenging, and you see all of those layers. This is a woman that absolutely loves her children and loves her daughter, but also understands that. I mean, the way that Faith and I always talked about it was. Elsa is a version of Margaret, and it's something Margaret was and could no longer be at that time. And she understands that her daughter is going to have to give that up as well when her daughter becomes a mother, or a wife and a mother. There is no freedom for a woman necessarily like that at that time, and it's something that Margaret wants to protect her daughter from. And that's easier said than done, let's just say, because I think Elsa's a force to be reckoned with, and she kind of refuses to be boxed into a corner. And so you're just seeing that kind of pulling back and forth, and it's all out of love, but it can be really, not just difficult to kind of stomach. And neither of them are perfect. They're both really complicated people, and they contradict themselves all the time, and that's kind of what it is to be a human. So I just love it. And I love the fact that, a lot of young women sex wasn't explained to them at that time. So, in the first episode, when she sees a man and woman having sex, and then her parents making noises, through the wall. She's like, what is this thing that no one will talk to me about, that everyone seems to be enjoying but me? And then, and then she does it herself and she thinks it's a beautiful experience. And her mom says, okay, it was beautiful, fine, but there are consequences and you have to deal with those consequences. And
Right.
consequences, what are those?
Yeah, I love when she's like, I've seen the animals do it, but I don't know how it translates to us. And that was so funny. And I think, what you were saying too is like, that was such a beautiful moment when she was doing the voiceover of Margaret. And, I like related to that so much because there's so many times where it's like, oh, my mom wasn't just like born a mother. It's like, she's gone through most things that I've gone through. Like, I should listen to her advice. Like, she's been there before.
All of our parents were us to a degree at one point, and then our children are going to become us. That's the thing that we forget, that it's always so bizarre when you see your parents interacting with someone and reminiscing about things. You go, oh, you were a full-blown fledged human being with a life way beyond my own, before I ever arrived on this earth. And it's a really beautiful thing to see your child realize that.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Yeah, like the reminiscing and the whole life before me. I'm like, what? You had a life? Like, it's kind of, I'm like, I should be your world. But yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about what it was like working with Tim McGraw and Faith Hill. I mean, they're just iconic. What was that experience like?
Just the best. I mean, I genuinely, maybe some people feel inclined to say, oh, I love my co-stars and I had a great time with them. Well, I genuinely mean with all my heart, they are the loveliest human beings. They treated me like gold. They treated everyone around them like gold. And I didn't know they were iconic because I've never heard them sing before. And I've never seen.
So you didn't go in with like I know like This Kiss and like all of the Tim McGraw songs. Okay.
No. See, I'm a bit of an oddball, and tell me.
Oh no, see, I am like such a fan. Like one of my, probably hands down, my favorite concert was when they toured together. I saw them at Staples Center a few years ago, and I was just like they were so cute, and he would be singing, he'd be like, Faith would be doing something, he'd be like, damn, look at my wife, and I was like, they are the ultimate couple goals. Like, what did you learn from that relationship?
They're like that all the time. I mean, what I love about their relationship is how much they respect one another. I mean, I didn't know what to anticipate. I mean, they're an actual married couple now going to play a married couple, and who knows? Who knows what could come of that? There could be pros and cons to that. All pros. They were so kind to one another, and they were so authentic. And not only that, but when one of them would rap for the day, they would sit and wait for the other to finish, no matter how late it got. I know, and I thought to myself, man, I would absolutely not do the same for my significant other. I'd be like, I'm out of here. I'm going to bed.
Going to take a nap.
Yeah. Finish your day. Bye, honey. No, they were unbelievably supportive of one another, but also respectful and took a step back, and neither was domineering about the other's performance. I mean, it was just a really enlightening experience. I'm not much of a romantic myself, if I'm being totally frank. I romanticize things, not people. That's the way I like to put it. But I did have a bit of a moment where watching them and their relationship, I did kind of go, well, I certainly hope I have something like that in the future, because that is the ideal marriage for sure.
Yeah. So when you find someone special, they'll probably have to have like an okay, or maybe go through some training with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just send him off to Tim and Faith and be like, observe them and then imitate it.
Yes. Some 101. That's so funny. So before we wrap up, I just, so much of our audience are young women or women in general looking to break into the industry. What advice do you have for them?
Oh, wow. Well, young women are kind of my favorite people. Not to be biased or anything, but best friends are young women. I think stay true to yourself. I know that a lot of people say that, but I mean that genuinely. You know, who you are. There's no one like you, and whatever you think is popular to be might not necessarily be what you have to offer to the world. And I think people want what you have to offer, not what you think they want you to offer. And yeah, just refuse to be anything other than yourself, I think is the most important thing. Really.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Isabel. And for everyone tuning in, be sure to check out 1883 on Paramount Plus.